Under the cold hum of the fluorescent lights, the war room sat in uneasy silence. The air smelled faintly of metal and burnt coffee. Maps, screens, and encrypted terminals stretched across the walls, every pixel alive with the pulse of classified urgency. Asterisk, asterisk, what city are you watching from today? If this story resonated with you, hit subscribe for more real stories about extraordinary people. Asterisk. And in the center of it all stood a woman no one knew. She wore a plain Navy uniform, no rank insignia, no medals, just a quiet presence that didn't belong to the chaos around her. She had been assigned there that morning, without explanation, her transfer papers marked temporary attachment. But something about her unnerved everyone. The way she stood, composed, still, as if measuring the weight of every heartbeat in the room. That's when Lieutenant Harris made the mistake. He leaned across the holographic map table, smirking, "Hey, sailor, what's your rank anyway?" A few officers chuckled under their breath. The newcomer didn't even glance at him. "I asked a question," Harris pressed, voice dripping with condescension. "Or is that classified too?" The woman's eyes lifted, calm, piercing. And that's when the room felt colder. She said nothing at first, only walked forward, slow and deliberate, until she stood right beside the main operations console, the one connected to the highest command network in the Pacific. "Authorization code, red level Alpha 7, she said quietly. The room froze. The system beeped once. Then the monitor changed color, from green to deep red. A voice from the Central AI Core confirmed, "Command channel classified red. Clearance. SEAL Command, Tier 1. Every officer in the room went still. Harris blinked. "Wait, SEAL Command?" "You can't," but the system had already verified her biometrics. On the screen, her name appeared in crisp military font. Commander Alexandra Reid, Naval Special Warfare Command, Classified Division. Silence filled every corner of the war room. Her story, however, didn't begin there. It began years before, in a flooded training bay on Coronado Island, when she was just a candidate, fighting to breathe through pain that would have broken most men. Back then, no one believed the woman could endure SEAL training. They said her endurance was too low, her size too small, her emotions too visible. But Alexandra didn't argue. She endured. When the waves slammed her into the sand, she stood up again. When the instructors buried her shoulder deep in ice, she smiled through trembling lips. And when they screamed that she'd never last, she whispered, not to them, but to herself, "Watch me." She was number 47 in Class 321, the one they forgot to notice. The one who never spoke, never broke, and never asked for help. On the day of the drown proof, an instructor tied her hands and feet and dropped her into the pool. 6 minutes later, she surfaced, still bound, still calm, and looked the instructor straight in the eye. He didn't say a word. He just nodded. That was the first time someone respected her. The last time was years later, today in that war room. After training, Alexandra was deployed to regions no map dared name. Her missions were buried so deep in the archives that even the Pentagon couldn't access them without 2 separate clearances. She'd led extraction teams under cover of night, navigated through enemy radio silence, and retrieved American lives from the brink of oblivion. Her record was spotless, but invisible. She didn't exist officially. Her commendations were sealed under Operation Red, and yet today here she stood, summoned to a war room filled with men who thought they commanded power. General Carter, the base commander, finally broke the silence. "Commander Reid," he said, voice cautious, "why wasn't I informed of your arrival?" She turned to him, steady. "Because, sir, you weren't supposed to be." A flicker of discomfort crossed his face. The digital map updated again, lines shifting across a coastal region thousands of miles away. "What operation are you here for?" he asked. Her reply was barely above a whisper. "Operation Red Tides." The room collectively inhaled. Everyone knew that code, or rather, they knew to fear it. It was reserved for missions that could alter the balance of global warfare. Harris swallowed hard, realizing the gravity of his earlier mockery. For the next 10 minutes, Alexandra briefed the room. Her words were sharp, controlled, carrying the weight of years in the field. Enemy movements. Satellite blackouts. Missing units. She spoke as someone who'd seen it firsthand, not as an analyst reading a report. "Ma'am," one of the captains interrupted nervously, "how do you know this intelligence is valid?" She looked at him, almost kindly. "Because I was there when it happened." And then she pulled up a feed from her encrypted drive, footage no one in the room had clearance to access. It showed the last 5 minutes of an American recon team before they vanished. The signature on the file read, "Captured by Red Shadow Command." A collective dread fell over the officers. That name hadn't been spoken in years. Harris, trying to recover his pride, muttered, "So what? You're just here to show us how bad it is." Alexandra's voice turned to steel. "No, Lieutenant. I'm here to stop it. But I'll need your team to follow orders, without question." He opened his mouth again, but the general cut him off. "You heard her, Harris. From now on, she's your superior." Alexandra didn't gloat. She simply nodded and turned back to the map. Hours passed. The war room buzzed with coordination. She worked like a machine, issuing commands, decoding transmissions, aligning satellite feeds. Every now and then she paused and stared at the flickering screen, her mind somewhere far beyond the walls of this room. One officer whispered to another, "What's her story?" No one knew. But when the first encrypted call came in, they got a glimpse. A voice crackled through the channel. "Echo leader to command. We found them." Alexandra stiffened. "Repeat. Echo team located Red Shadow stronghold. But they're surrounded." Without hesitation, she stepped to the come. "This is Commander Reid. Maintain position. Extraction is inbound." There was a pause. Then the voice replied softly, "Commander? Is that really you?" She closed her eyes. "Hold fast, Cole. I'm coming." The officers exchanged glances. Whoever Cole was, he wasn't just another soldier. In the hours that followed, Alexandra coordinated an entire covert operation through sheer command presence. She redirected drones, activated ghost satellites, and pulled resources no one knew existed. By midnight, she'd executed a perfect counterstrike plan without firing a single bullet herself. When the dust cleared, Echo Team was safe, and the Red Shadow stronghold was nothing but static on the radar. The war room erupted in disbelief. General Carter approached her quietly. "Commander Reid," he said, "we owe you one hell of a debt." She didn't answer. Instead, she walked toward the window, where the ocean met the horizon. "I don't do it for debt, sir," she said softly. "Then why?" he asked. Her eyes didn't leave the horizon. "Because someone once saved me when I didn't deserve it. Now I do the same, for others." After the operation, the room slowly emptied. Only Harris stayed behind, silent. He finally spoke. "Commander, I didn't mean to." She raised a hand gently. "You did what you thought was safe. That's what most people do. Were you really one of them? A red-level SEAL?" She smiled faintly. "There's no such thing as were, Lieutenant. Once you've seen that side of war, it never leaves you." He hesitated. "Then why hide it?" She turned to him, eyes calm but distant. "Because some truths don't belong to medals or titles. They belong to moments when no one's watching." The next morning, her station was empty. Her console wiped clean. The only trace she left was a note on Harris's desk, a single line written in steady ink. "Leadership isn't in rank. It's in restraint." No one saw her leave the base. But weeks later, a satellite feed captured a lone Navy vessel sailing under no flag. Just the code name Reid 47. It disappeared beyond the horizon, toward classified coordinates marked in red. To this day, the war room keeps a framed copy of that clearance moment. When a woman no one knew uttered a phrase that changed everything, authorization code, red level Alpha 7. And every time new recruits enter that room, they hear the story of the officer who asked the wrong question and the SEAL who answered it with silence, authority, and truth. What did this story make you feel? Where are you watching from? Subscribe to Soul Relief Stories for more real stories that heal the heart.